Hello, welcome back. It is late at night, but I'm finally doing my makeup. I had a chance where the kids are finally entertained. They're all upstairs playing video games, so I might actually be able to complete the makeup look that I was going to do earlier. And what I figured what I would talk about with this Get Ready With Me is actually talk about makeup for once. Because came across an old Reddit thread that I had well, it's several years old, and I had read it then. And basically, the complainant, if you will, is a little bit frustrated that a lot of these like indie influencers are always like talking about the same brands, and she was just wondering how ethical that really is. Like, why do they all focus and talk about the same brands? And I thought I would kind of address that because I just got a big order from Odin's Eye in, and they're one of the brands that tends to happen too. So I'm going to do my makeup and talk about why certain brands always seem to be on the radar of influencers. And I will caveat by saying, like, I know some of us are kind of like once bitten, twice shy with the situation with Morphe. And there are influencers who are unethical. But, I would just, caution you if the influencers you're following, make you jaded or leave you feeling jaded and you don't really like their content, don't follow them. It's not the entire community. It's not even a majority of the community. And if they're telling you that it is, they're wrong. Influencers who are looking for an excuse to do something wrong will in general give you excuses. So if you're not looking for those excuses, just turn the other cheek. It's kind of like, I hire a lawn care service to come cut my grass every 2 weeks. And if I found out that like they were working without insurance and some weeks they didn't come cut, and maybe they had really bad customer service, they were doing something illegal, I wouldn't go, oh my God, the lawn care industry is so corrupt. You can't even get your lawn cut these days without someone trying to promote some sort of John Deere lawnmower brand. I would just simply choose another company, right? Like I wouldn't associate myself with those type of people. So if that is the community that you're in, leave that. Find the honest guys. Hire new people, right? Because your views on AdSense for YouTube and the algorithm which gives you views, which ultimately gives them sponsorships, is their job. So like if you don't support and condone that behavior, don't give them their money. That's my 2 cents though, and that's not really the point of this. Other than it's just evidence that not every influencer is crooked, because most aren't. Most actually receive very little for what they do, and it takes a very, very famous, well-known influencer to actually be able to earn a living. So with that in mind, I'm going to start off with some Odin's Eye and talk about what the original complaint was, which was particularly about Blend Bunny. Like, why is everybody talking about Blend Bunny? And, it really makes me doubt their honesty. Like, they're all getting some sort of kickback. And for the most part, they're not getting kickback, and they should be disclosing that if they are. And they should be disclosing if they're friends with the owner. They should be disclosing if they have a collab with the owner. And for most people don't have collabs. Most people don't personally know the owner. They don't have an outside interest in those programs. So why do they end up all talking about in this particular thread was Blend Bunny? And I have a couple of theories of that. One, it is a product of the fact that these influencer brands, or indie brands, I should say, not all indie brands are led by influencers. I feel like that goes without saying, but I did just misspeak, so I thought I'd clarify. These brands don't have the advertising budget that some other brands have. right? So you're not going to have a multi-million dollar mainstream campaign the way the Sephora mainstream brands do, because you don't have the budget for that. And when influencers support you, that's your community and that's who you're supporting back. It's just a different business model and a different way of operating. That doesn't make someone different. It doesn't make someone crooked. It just makes it different. Smaller businesses do operate differently when it comes to advertising and spend dollars and R&D, very much differently. You're literally looking at small business networking and things that, they tell you, since I'm a small business owner too, not beauty, but like, what do you have to do to get your name out there? It's word of mouth, it's referrals, it's networking. It's very much one-on-one, that human connection. So when you see that human connection, don't use that as an opportunity to be dissuaded and think that somehow, they're all in bed with each other. That is not the assumption that you should have when you go into any professional place of business. So it actually does quite a bit of disservice to the influencers and these brand owners to think that it's one giant, Illuminati scheme, and they all meet together under the Denver airport. That's not really what's happening. What you do see, though, is when they talk about, particularly with Blend Money, because she has pretty much unequivocally the best mats in the industry, is it forms a basis of comparison because she is a larger brand, because she has made it, because she does have quality. She is now a benchmark for influencers to describe the quality of up-and-coming brands against her. And that's actually incredibly flattering for brands like Blend Bunny and Odin's Eye to be popular enough that they can be referenced, and most people are familiar enough with the quality and reputation of the brand that you can actually be used as a reference for other products. And that is not the influencers trying to somehow like promote these brands. It is literally them trying to do a job, which is very difficult, and that is convey to you. I have no idea what shade I want to use. Which is to convey to you how something looks in real life, feels on the skin, applies, has longevity. That's not necessarily the easiest thing to do on a small screen where you are somatically removed from the experience. So they're actually doing you a service by using a product that you're able to compare to, because they are big enough in the industry. Apart from just being a benchmark, these brands are also very consistent. So like, I have a bunch of Odin's Eye palettes that I can actually really quickly grab. Like there's two or three formulas in this palette, and they're roughly the same as the 2 formulas in this palette, which are roughly the same, even though the layout's different, as the formulas in this palette, as the formulas in this palette. And they have several different shimmer formulas, but they're consistent palette to palette. They make sense palette to palette. Their layouts are mostly the same. Their price points are mostly the same. And the quality is mostly the same. And that means that they actually function in that benchmark capacity. So when I think about like Simply Posh is also huge in the makeup community, but their formula isn't consistent. So it becomes more difficult for influencers to benchmark against them, because which palette are you talking about? Are you talking about their good formula? Or are you talking about their bad formula, right? Same thing with Glaminatrix. Glaminatrix has a huge following. Even though it's not a US brand, they've still got a huge following here in the US. And it's sometimes difficult, though, to ask, which formula or which palette I want, because there are two formulations, or it feels like there's inconsistent formulations across the brand, with some palettes being more pigmented and less buildable, and some being buildable but more beginner friendly. But maybe for some they would argue that's less quality. And honestly, with that particular example, I wouldn't say one's better than the other. I'd say it's up to preference. But what is your preference? And with how expensive indie makeup is, I don't think people like to gamble and feel disappointed when they receive a palette. So when you have a brand who's kind of made it and they're able to put out consistently good formulas year after year, they're going to be really, really popular on YouTube and other social media sites, because it's easy to talk about them. It's easy to talk about the brand and not have to say, well, this palette doesn't measure up, or this palette's like this brand, and the next year their palette's more like another brand. You don't have to worry about that. And then it's also like kind of unfair to like assume that the influencers like aren't capable of liking the brand simply because they like it. Like, the brand's popular because it's a good brand. Like, that is that is a possibility. And to be honest, I've never heard anyone say Blend Bunny's a bad formula. I don't even know how to. I'm not even imagining a world where that's happened. Same thing with Odin's Eye. Some people don't like some of their formulas. Like, they have some really squishy formulas. Like, this one in the upper corner of these Alba palettes is like marbled and super squishy, and some people don't like that. But it's very consistent palette to palette, so you know what you're getting when you buy that brand, if it has one of those shades in it. So I think for like all of those reasons, you can get a little tired about hearing about the same brands. Like, I don't want to hear about another, Glam Light launch. I don't want to hear about another Odin's Eye launch. I don't want to hear about Nomad. I don't want to hear about Blend Bunny. But yet, those are the brands that are putting out consistent quality products year to year, and it's there's nothing nefarious in that. So that's my opinion. One of it is just honest reviews, honest quality that those brands are generally liked. Some of it is scale, simply because they're consistent, and then of course they can be used to benchmark and describe other products. They're not trying to get you to buy it. It's not a secret plot that we're all going to get together and we're all going to talk about Blend Bunny to make Maggie sales rise. That's not what's going on. But it is about providing a service to music community. So I don't mind when brands are compared to other brands. I like Natasha Denona. So, someone says, oh, this is really good quality, it's like Natasha Denona. I'm going, okay, good. And if someone says it's almost like the cream to powder formula, I go, well, wait, that's the formula I don't like, And the thing is, people aren't going, oh, it's a conspiracy against Natasha Denona. Like, why would it be? Why would it be a conspiracy when people start, constantly talking about Blend Bunny? I'm really a live and let live type person when I can be. And I think the answer to that is to just let these brands have their moment in the sun. Let them appreciate the success that they've been able to have. Because, at the end of the day, it's no skin off my back if a brand's quality is inflated or not. Like, if I buy a brand and I don't like it, I'm not dumb enough to buy it again. I just don't buy it. So like, if there's an influencer talking about a brand and she's comparing it to, let's say you don't like Blend Bunny because you're crazy, you don't like that, then either don't follow the influencer because you can't trust their opinion, not because their opinion is somehow dishonest, but because their taste doesn't align with your taste. Or just go, oh, thank you for letting me know, and comparing it to a brand's formula I don't like, so I know to stay away from this. Odin's Eye doesn't have the best shimmer formula, the best matte formula, the best every single formula, but it's really good all the way around, and it's so consistent. That's why it's one of my favorite brands. And of course, I'm obviously very colorful with my makeup. But again, that's not to any way, shape, or form because they paid me to say that or because I'm in bed with the brand. I don't know the owners. I don't speak Swedish. I don't have any reason to say that. I don't have any reason to love the brand, but here's proof. I just bought Black Friday sale. I bought 5 palettes from them. Like sometimes you can just say like, oh, if you're into indie makeup, these are the brands to follow. And I don't think there's dishonesty because a brand is popular. Unless, of course, we have like the Morphe situation and where influencers are paid. But you also have regulation requiring, people to state when they're sponsored. And you also should have regulation. Actually, you do. There is regulation. You can't sell mascara or in falsies. That actually is deceptive advertising. But, live and let live. I've just learned that I cannot trust, that particular influencer, so I don't follow her. So it's not, again, it's not skin off my back. Skin off my back? Is that the right expression? I don't know. It's just not something that bothers me. But I thought I would give my 2 cents on why it's worth not writing up people who are always talking about the same brands or following the same brands, because at the end of the day, that's actually a tremendous service that you have as the reviewer to know about it. I think I'm actually going to go one step farther and say might be misogyny. And I know you're going like, whoa, that's a big jump. How did you get there from what you were just saying? And that is because when people review cars, we compare cars to each other all the time. We compare the engine, we compare the sound, we compare the feel and the quality. We'll compare it to a previous make and model by that same manufacturer. We'll do all that, and that's not criticized. When people play video games and they say like, oh, this is better than the sequel, or I like this engine, I sit there and I like talk about Bethesda games. Well, I don't, but I do love a Bethesda game. People don't go, oh, well, they paid you to say that. I'm like, no, they don't know who I am. Why would I be paid to say that? But, and I don't think people are criticizing influencers because the majority of them are women / possibly homosexual men. I don't want to judge anyone. Or, well, it's not really a judgment, but I don't want to go down a road of saying more than I'm trying to say, because I'm not trying to say anything. But it is a space led predominantly by women or stereotypically feminine presentation. And I don't think people criticize it deliberately because, we're women in this space. But I think people in general don't feel the same social restraint from criticizing a woman in public that they might a man. So in spaces that are beauty led, a lot of time there is a assumption that we're not honest, or an assumption that we didn't climb our way to the top ethically. And that's just, really unflattering for any woman who's making her living in any way. And that permeates many, many, many different aspects of society. So I would just caution, think about it. Like, would you have these same assumptions if you're watching a video? Like, I like this guy, he's an appliance repairman, and I watch him, and I never have once thought, oh, he's just talking about Whirlpool all the time because they paid him to talk about Whirlpool. I go, no, he's an appliance repairman, and he's talking about something that happens all the time to be in people's homes. And That's a little bit my 2 cents. It's not necessarily something that I can prove and defend on the fly in a get ready with me, but um I just want you guys to be kind to each other. Like at the end of the day, everything always boils down to kindness and respecting each other and just saying like, no, let's not insult an influencer because she happens to like a popular brand that you also don't happen to like. Because those same influencers have turned me on to many brands that I like. And when I buy a brand that I don't like, I just don't buy them again. And it's that easy, it's that simple, and it's free and it costs you nothing to respect someone else's opinion. So enjoy the makeup. This is Odin's Eye, and have a great evening. Bye.